The early to mid-1900s showcased some of the most classic physical and verbal comedians in their prime. This includes the likes of the Three Stooges, Laurel and Hardy, W.C. Fields, Buster Keaton, our gang Little Rascals, Abbott and Costello, Charlie Chaplin, and the Marx Brothers. Their timeless slapstick humor is what set the bar for most comedy films today, but it seems like they're fading into the shadows lately because the majority of our younger TV watchers and moviegoers have never even heard of them. If you take a look around at most of the TV shows being broadcasted today, you'll discover that there aren't many that rely on slapstick humor and don't take place in an obvious set or use a laugh track. I'm going to delve a little deeper into three of the most relatively well-known groups of comedians of the early 20th century. The Marx Brothers, to start this all off, consisted of 5 brothers, but the most celebrated are Groucho, Chico, and Harpo. They were born in New York and had a natural talent for comedy. They became successful in vaudeville and Broadway, and by the late 1920s they signed a movie deal with Paramount. Each of them possessed their own unique comedic styles in their films. Groucho was the best at delivering one-liners, one after the other.
What do you want?
I want to come in.
What's the password?
Oh, you're no fool of me. Swordfish.
No, I got tired of that. I changed it.
Chico was skilled at delivering puns.
You don't have to teach me. I know how. Oh.
And Harpo was the quote-unquote silent clown of the trio. He was the best at the art of visual gags. He never spoke and communicated in the films via playing charades or using a bicycle horn.
Can't you say anything?
A quote from the article Why Evolution is True by Matthew Cobb, a teacher of animal diversity, states, I closed with 10 minutes on one of my favorite flies. One of them is the Groucho fly, aka the hedgehog fly. I realized that I would have to explain why it's called the Groucho fly, as most students would never have heard of Groucho Marx. This turned out to be true. Fewer than 10% of them knew the mustachioed one. Next up on the list is Hal Roach's Our Gang, known today as the Little Rascals. This was a long-running series of shorts created to capture the youthful energy of children on film. The shorts started out as silent, then eventually progressed into sound. Hal Roach, an American film and television producer and director, believed there's a childlike quality to most successful comedians. Our Gang quickly became the most popular series he's made of, and as of now, it is the only series Hal Roach has produced that the general public is still familiar with. A quote from the John V. Brennan article, Our Gang, The Early Days, 1922 through 1933, states, The early Our Gang sound films of 1930 and 1931 are almost all uniformly heartwarming and funny, and based on real situations audiences of the Great Depression could easily relate to. Last up on the list is arguably the most well-known trio of slapstick comedy, known as the Three Stooges, named Moe Howard, Larry Fine, and Curly Howard. They first began as a vaudeville comedy act in the mid-1920s under the name Ted Healy and his Stooges, Ted Healy being the original creator. Soon after, the trio left Mr. Healy and went on to work for Columbia Pictures as the Three Stooges. Their comic style was characterized by cartoonishly violent acts of slapping, punching, eye-poking, and hair-pulling that were all exaggerated by sound effects. Sadly, Curly suffered a stroke in May of 1946. He ended up being replaced by his brother Shemp Howard, who was later replaced by Joe Besser, who was then replaced by Joe DeRita for their final 12 years. Thankfully, the Three Stooges and the Little Rascals have had their series remade into major motion pictures to get more kids and young adults in the know about these comedic icons. So, with that said, take some time to check out these legends of comedy. Read up on their history. Watch some of their shorts or movies. Whatever you find the most interesting. Clips and full-length shorts can easily be found on websites like YouTube, Vimeo, or Dailymotion. As long as these classics are passed down through the generations, the memory of some of the world's most beloved and appreciated slapstick comedians will not die.